Dear Deep South, how are you so good at telling people to fuck off? Like, it's like the warmest hug and a stab in the back at the same time. All I can say is, oh, bless your heart.
Yes. Right.
Now,
Yes.
folks, before I get off this stage, I do have a birthday wish on behalf of Happy Bones Jones. Because Happy Bones Jones is the comedian who brought us all here together. I want to see Happy Bones Jones perform his best set for y'all. Do y'all want to see that?
Yeah.
All right, make some noise for the birthday boy, Happy Bones Jones.
Oh, I see. I put you on the spot all the time. You put me on the spot. I thought about a few things to do tonight, but let me tell you a story. So, I became Happy Bones because in '95 I moved up to Minneapolis to run the streets wild up there and play music and get away from what I thought was the terrible heat. And they used to be like, hey man, you want to go on a bone ride? And I was like, what the fuck is a bone ride? And they were like, that's when we go out in the country and we smoke weed. And so we'd ride out in the country and we'd smoke weed. And so I came back from Minneapolis that same year because 3 days into fucking not stopping snowing, I was like, fuck this, I'm going back to Georgia. I wasn't set up for that shit. I mean, literally, the first day that it was like really bad snow, and St. Paul is set up to where it's real hilly, kind of like San Francisco. And they had this camera on this one street, and one after the other, they would just try to go down and they just hit fucking cars like fucking pinballs. And I was like, this guy's trying it too? What's happening? Jesus Christ. And then I get back, and I dated this girl whose father sold an ass of weed. Like, he sold a ton of weed. So I constantly was in his house, like, breaking pounds down into ounces and whatnot, what have you. You know what I'm saying? And, because I could do math. And so he would always be like, hey, man, go and roll us one of those Happy cigarettes. And I was like, damn, Happy Bones. If I named myself Happy Bones, people would be calling my name and they would be saying joints, but they wouldn't know it because it's slang that I only know, right? Now I'm telling y'all, so now y'all know. Happy Bones means joints, right?
No shit.
Yeah. And then later on in life,
He's like, no shit.
and then later on in life, I was at a Grateful Dead concert, and I have the Grateful Dead bears tattooed around my leg, on my calf, and I was wearing shorts that day. It was a rare occasion. And chick was like, man, I love your bears, man, blah, blah, blah. And then we got to talking, and then I told her I'm Happy Bones, right? And she's like, that's cool you named yourself Happy Bones because it's like an homage to the Grateful Dead. And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, grateful, happy, dead bones, duh. And I was like, double entendre, hell fucking yeah. I do like the Grateful Dead.
Hell yeah. Me too.
And then I was in Austin, Texas, and I had the opportunity. I just found out about this live podcast, this called Kill Tony, and at the time, it was a podcast at the Vulcan Gas Company on 6th Street in Austin, Texas, downtown Austin. I don't know if you've ever been on 6th Street, but that is where all the debauchery be going down. You know what I'm saying? It's the Bourbon Street, it's the Beale Street of Austin. And so, we're there by chance, and I had known about the show for a few months. I was like, let me just go and sign up. I signed up. But the night before, I had a fucking dream that he called me up, and he called me fucking Happy Bones Jones, and I was like, that's not my name. But then, I woke up and I remembered it, and I was like, fuck, I should sign up as Happy Bones Jones, and if he calls me up, Happy Bones Jones is born. And he did. He called me up. I was like, gee, there was like 80 people there that signed up that night, and there was only like 5 comics on that particular show, episode 507, by the way. And I got a big fucking joke book, so I killed. I actually fucking did really good on the show, and I gave it to Tony just as hard as he gave it to me. At one point, he asked me. I told him I was doing pet transport across country. And he's like, oh, what's that consist of? And I was like, well, I pick up a dog from one spot, and I take him to another fucking spot. And he's like, oh, no bones about it. You know, he'd be trying to be quick with his little words and whatnot. Well, recently, Tony is in news about calling Puerto Rico the island of trash is floating in the middle of the ocean. I'm not sure why people are so sensitive, because I remember when Dennis Miller said that having the Masters golf tournament in Augusta was like having the Eiffel Tower in the middle of a trailer park. I wasn't offended by that, but I think the French people probably were, because the Eiffel Tower did literally get built in the middle of a trailer park. But you'd have to go to understand what I'm saying. And I've never been. You know what I'm saying? Crazy shit. So I grew up as a musician. I knew at a very young age that I wanted to be a musician, because you remember back in the day on Saturday mornings, we'd watch cartoons. And after the cartoons were over, around noon, Soul Train would come on. And my dad would come into the room and he would turn down the music on the TV and he would say, Coltrane! And he'd put on Coltrane, and he'd put on Ray Charles and Otis Redding and like everybody. And I fell in love with all this music, but the one that I really loved was James Brown. And so Dad told me, you know, I'm like trying to dance like James Brown, I'm trying to sing like James Brown. Dad tells me, you know, James Brown's from Augusta, Georgia. I shined his shoes once when I was a little boy. Everybody in Augusta has a story about James Brown and that time they met him. Well, this is my motherfucking story, okay? I was a little boy, 5 years old, and my mama worked at the airport, and one day I had one of those spiral notebooks, not the ones like the little pansy kids be walking around these days with the plastic spirals. It had real metal spirals. So I undid the end, I spent it because I'm ADHD as fuck, I spun it really tight, and then I let it go. Now I didn't realize what was gonna happen when I let it go, but it went through my finger, and I'm talking about like through the middle of my finger. So I'm just like walking around with a spiral notebook hanging off the end of my finger. And so I walked up to the teacher and I was like, what should I do about this? So she sent me to the nurse, and the nurse said, we're not allowed to take foreign objects out of your body. And I was like, okay. And so I was like, I'll take it out. And then they wouldn't let me do that. And so then Mom had to come from work to pick me up, to take me to the airport. And I had to sit there. It was boring as fuck. But this was the kicker. Mama didn't take it out either. So I just sat there with a spiral notebook beside the x-ray machine at the airport, like wondering what's going to happen. Now my mom told me that there was a Vietnam veteran that was a field medic that's going to show up to work soon, and he was going to take care of it with a pair of needle nose pliers. And I was like, okay, that sounds legit. So I'm waiting. All of a sudden I see James Brown walk in with his entourage, and this was back whenever, you know, he had the yellow safety glasses, and he had he had the wife that died under anesthesia doing the plastic surgery or whatever it is. So he was walking. I guess they were arguing. I don't usually tell. Now I told this story in front of Deanna Brown, which is his daughter, and I left this all the way out. So don't tell her, okay? And she probably won't see this. You won't see this. What are you doing? Anyway, he kind of smacked her, you know what I'm saying, in the middle of the fucking airport. And I looked at my mom and I was like, what the fuck? And she's like, that's Mr. Brown. Ain't nobody gonna say anything to Mr. Brown, baby. And then Mr. Brown locked eyes with me. And he goes, that baby got a hole in the finger. And I didn't really catch it. And then he said it again, and he was walking towards me. That baby got a hole in the finger. And then he got right over me, and he's like, you got a hole in your finger, boy. Well, where's your mom at? And then Mom chimed in. We know, Mr. Brown, we're going to take care of it. Hey, what, you going to take care of it? He got a hole in his finger. What you doing? He just hanging here with it. And he tried to explain to Mom that something should have been done about this a long time ago, which is what I thought the whole fucking time. And so he says something to Mom, and I remember she telling me that he invited her to fly to New York. So I was like, what about, he smacked his wife in front of us, and then he was very fussy over me, and then he asked my mom to go to New York. All those things are things that a kid probably be like, hey man, that's not even cool. And it did kind of come up on my radar like that. But then I did exactly what every person on the planet does, and I goes, oh, but that's James Brown though. And I gave him a pass because you know why? He was concerned about my finger. I was very excited about that. So I was telling my friends at kindergarten, James Brown, I met James Brown. He was concerned about me. I had a little thing in my finger and everything. This has all happened yesterday when I had to leave class whenever I got the thing through my finger. And they was like, man, you lying. You ain't met James Brown. And then half of them was like, who the fuck is James Brown? Because I'm dealing with 5-year-olds, you know what I'm saying? Fast forward, I'm 12 years old. I get my first like tooth bad thing is the abscess tooth. My mom takes me to the fucking dentist. I get the whole thing done, right? And I'm literally still, my mouth is all fucking numb. And mom decides that a good treat for me is to pull me over to this side barbecue stand on the side of the Windsor Spring Road and give me a barbecue sandwich that I can't fucking taste. And so we're sitting there and James Brown's Lincoln Town car pulls up. His bodyguard gets out and he gets out. And I'm telling mom, this time I want to tell James Brown how much I love him. I want to tell James Brown all about how I listen to all his fucking work. This is going to be amazing. But it didn't sound like that when I said it. It sounded like, Mom, nice tell me children, James Brown, love him. Everything, brother, she's like, you can't talk to James Brown. I'm like, why? She's like, you can't talk to James Brown. You sound like a fucking mongoloid right now. She didn't use the word mongoloid. She was quite harsh, ornery old country woman, but you can kind of put the words in there. And I was, yeah, that was it, retarded. A little slow on the uptake. I was devastated, to say the least, because motherfucker, I wanted to tell James Brown, because I've been thinking about it since I was 5. I was just staring at him like, drool coming out of my mouth, not knowing what to say because I'm 5. And here I am 12, and I've thought about it for, how many years is that, 7? So 7 years I've been thinking about this, and I'm ready. I'm ready. And it would be on the day that my mom fucking took me, and Dennis did these things and made my numb, I can't talk, God damn it. And then, fast forward to 24 years old. I'm an established musician at this time in the CSRA. I decide I'm gonna go walking downtown because I had lived down in the old town, right? It used to be called Pinchgut, but that's for another time. And I was walking down Broad Street, and I see James Brown walking into his rehearsal space that was right there on Broad Street. I see his personal assistant, Alif, who I partied with. I did lots of coke and all kinds of other fun things with this person. So it kind of gave me a little bit of like, I feel all right about this. I can get my nerve up. I'm getting closer and closer. The bodyguard's having trouble with the key. And I'm like, oh shit, this is really gonna happen. This dude's not moving. This is really gonna happen. I get up about 10 feet away from him and I looked at him and I said, I got that feeling. Baby, I got that feeling now. You don't know what you do to me, right? And I thought he was gonna say, man, you my protege. Come on in the studio, man. But instead he looked me dead in my eye and he said, he trying to be me. He ain't me. And he giggled and he walked on in the door. It didn't break my heart that bad, but let me tell you something. My heart was broken that day, let me tell you. A few weeks later, he's walking out the Radisson. I'm teaching my brother how to play guitar. So I have put out a diagram of A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I fucking did the whole diagram with my own hands, right? James Brown walks out and says, what you got there, boys? Chords? Asks his guy for a Sharpie, and he signs it. And the other day I saw Joe and I was like, hey, you still got that piece of paper that has my handwriting on it and James Brown's handwriting on it? And he's like, yeah, somewhere. And I was like, for real, you don't even know where it's at? And he's like, no. And I was like, but you know you got it? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, well, when you find it, you'll give it to me? And he's like, hell no. I'm gonna frame it. I'm gonna take pictures of it every fucking day, and I'm gonna be like, wish you had this, don't you? For your birthday. So that'll probably come up on Wednesday. So then later on I realized, Happy Bones Jones, I'm jonesing for a Happy Bones. That shit works good. That's my time, y'all. I love y'all. Thank y'all for coming. We do this every Monday night. But anyway, I started doing this because I love comedy. The art of comedy is the only art form that I know of, besides life, where you have to do it in front of an audience and you have to fuck up. So I wanted to give a stage to people that want to try it. And I love that we've had like Patrick, wherever the fuck, okay, Patrick, we've had a lot of fucking first timers, man, up here on this stage, and that blows my mind. And I'm hoping that it is me that's kind of making y'all feel comfortable to come up here. That's why y'all got that comfort on stage. Y'all just like, yeah, Woody's got my back because he's right there behind me. Beep, beep, beep. But I don't know if that's the case. In my head, that's what I feel. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'm going to keep on doing it as much as I can. This is like week 24, I think. I'm going to start putting out the video with the audio on YouTube for the podcast. Right now, you can go and get the audio at happybonesjones.com. Or just Google Jest, Joust, Comedy, Calamity is the only thing that pops up, and that's why I named it that shit. Hey, you know what I'm saying? It's hard to do that shit these days.
Wicked smart.
Anyway, you're right, sir. Wicked smart.
Happy birthday.
Hot the car and hobby yard.
Happy birthday. Happy
Yeah.
birthday.
Hell yeah. Thank y'all very much for coming out tonight, man. Y'all made my night. We'll see y'all next week, hopefully. When the premise next week is I have superpowers, but they're stupid and useless. I'll give you an example. I'm a supervillain. I can go to a coffee shop and I can instantly make everybody's coffee ice cold, and then the coffee shop slowly goes out of business and everybody loses their mind. All right. Love y'all. Be safe.
Good job. How are you?